now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 9x90. Today, we have a very, very special guest with us. His name is Jorge Olson. Are you related to the Olson twins? I forgot to ask. You're not. You just have the same last name. Okay, we will get into more in a second. But first, you need to know, he uses strategic marketing to help small companies get funding and go public through reverse mergers and IPOs. If you think that's impressive, listen to who his clients have been. Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross, Cheech Chong. And he is the author of the book, Build Your Beverage Empire, which is now third edition. We will link to that in the show notes because I know a few of you are going to want to read it. And if you don't want to read his book and figure out how to do it on your own, he actually has a company. The whole reason we brought him on the show today is not to tell you about his book, but to tell you about how you can work with his company, which does this for you. It is FMCG, and he helps clients build new product lines of consumer goods. So we have a full stacked empire builder here with us on the show today. I hope you all enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Adi, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, of course, of course. So what does FMCG do today?
Sure. We just changed the name, by the way, and did the entire rebranding of the company from Green Globe International Inc. to Fast Moving Consumer Goods Inc. And that's the ticker symbol. We were lucky enough to reserve that ticker symbol because it has a lot of meaning to me, since that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years, fast-moving consumer goods, beverages, vitamins, over-the-counter medications, things like that. And that's what we do in the factory. We help companies take their products to life, from idea all the way to manufacturing, research, and development. We have 50,000 square feet of lab space in San Diego.
Wow. And I think something we should highlight here, because a lot of the people here are hybrids. They're born in one country, raised in another. You are also a hybrid. We have a hybrid among us. I'm a Russian Jew-American hybrid. You are Mexico and the US. So you have contacts that are in both countries that are able to help people get what they want to market quickly.
Yes,
that's huge.
That's true. I was born in Tijuana, Mexico. I live in San Diego, across the border. It's a border town. And I work with companies in the US and Mexico. I've sent companies public in Mexico, US companies public in Mexico, including a distribution company that we had, the Miller Beer distribution for Mexico, for Baja California.
Oh,
we took that to 100 million in sales, took it public. I've lived in Western Europe, including Germany, Spain.
Okay.
And of course, all over Mexico. I travel. I love Mexico, and I travel there still.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I can't believe you take things public in Mexico. That's amazing. Okay, that is so cool. And everyone else knows I've lived in Italy for 3.5 years, Spain for a year and a half. Where were you living in Germany?
The town is called Geinkirchen. It is a border town with Belgium and Holland. And it's 2 hours south of Dusseldorf, half an hour north of Aachen.
Okay, I know where Dusseldorf is. They have like gorgeous museums there. But,
oh my God, the villages are ridiculous. The bread is amazing. The people are great. I miss the bread, right? A bakery in every corner. That was amazing.
And you know what's wild? Like in the US, I have to be on the keto diet to stay as thin as I would eating bread in Germany. Like, what do they put in their bread? Because, yeah, it's so nutrient dense. I'm like, why can't we have this in America? But anyways, oh my gosh. Oh, fun. Okay,
next startup, going public with Adi and Jorge, a bread company that puts seeds, no gluten.
Yeah, a nutrient-dense bread for you.
Yes.
Oh, that was amazing. So I love that it's fast-moving consumer goods. Like people, there is no guessing what they are getting. Fast-moving consumer goods. You go to market fast, do IPO fast. This is amazing. So, and you have your own laboratory, which is huge because there's so many problems with quality control with supplements and beauty products. Like, obviously I do Korean skincare 9 times a day. And I can tell you that there's so many times they promise something and then I put it on and I'm breaking out or getting hives because they said no, none of this ingredient and it's in there. But
Yes.
okay, so how did you get started? Like what started you in this?
Sure. And by the way, let me give you a tip for beauty products. Look for NSF logo. Actually, for
Yeah.
everything that you put on your skin or nutritional supplements, NSF. That is the highest level of certification in the US, and that will guarantee at least that everything is tested. Every single ingredient before it comes into the factory has to be isolated, quarantined, and tested first. Then they have to test the batch, and then they have to test the product going out. Our factory is NSF certification, and it's brain damage to keep it certified. Most products are not. Only about 2% are going to be, but that means it's safe. You can sell it in a pharmacy, for example. Let's say that it's Korean quality and European Union approved if you have the NSF logo. So look for that for your own products. And by the way, jumping into your question, for quality control, when you're thinking about a product, developing a new product, quality, you said it, quality is key, but people don't know what to look for or how to do it.
Yeah.
It is slightly more expensive, of course, to have that type of quality up front because of the testing. Everything is third lab tested. You have to send it out. But even before that, Adi, I recommend that an entrepreneur, even Procter & Gamble or Coca-Cola, they have to decide who their avatar is, who their perfect consumer is first, develop all of their value propositions, and then test without the product, tested Meta, for example, LinkedIn, YouTube. Once it's tested, then you spend the money.
Yeah, but I would argue, okay, so my bachelor's degree is medicinal and biological chemistry. So I would argue that when someone says, oh, but this one's cheaper, but you have no idea what's in there, it's not cheaper because you're not getting magnesium glycinate. You could be getting sawdust. So while you think you're saving $2, you're actually losing the value of a bottle that could be improving your mental health and your sleep cycles and your muscle recovery because you wanted to save $1.
Yes, you got it. That's incredibly important. Yes, the function, right? It's not going to have the function. You're not going to have a repeat customer.
Well, yeah, you're not going to get the benefits from it. And on the supplier side, you're not going to retain the customers if they're not feeling the benefit from it. But yeah, so you have both sides. So what did you do before starting FMCG that led you here?
Sure. I've been in the same industry for a long time. Before that, I was in software. This is why I was in Germany. So I started my career in the software industry, applying best practices to large companies, supply chain, manufacturing. I took the same best practices that I learned into the wholesale distribution industry first. That was my first business. I was VP of marketing at 27, CEO of US operations of the software company at 28. At 30, I quit to run my own wholesale distribution company that became later developing products. Beverages, I started with beverages. So I started developing beverages for other people and helping them, putting it into 7-Eleven, Circle K, Budweiser distribution, etc. That's the way I started. And then, of course, you make a lot of mistakes, you gather a lot of knowledge, and here we are.
Yeah, we all make those mistakes. I remember before I launched my software company, it's like, I wonder why software CEOs are so good at understanding business law, but they don't have a JD. And then I had 5 attempted hostile takeovers of my 5-year-old software company. I was like, oh my God, that is why.
That's so interesting. I never thought about it that way, but you're right. I'm also that's a contract law, right? I'm versed in
Yeah.
contract law, and when attorneys ask me, do you have a law degree that you're not using? No, it's hostile takeovers, public companies, investment bankers trying to take advantage of me,
Oh,
my friends, right?
yeah. Yeah.
It's that's what it is. It's experience and screwing it up also.
Yeah. What you don't know will kill you.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Uh, all right. So what are some obstacles that you were surprised to face in your earliest months at FMCG?
Oh, talking about hostile takeovers, that's good timing, Adi, because that's
No.
let's get into it.
Sorry.
The juicy, let's get into the juicy part. Bite into it immediately. So when I started with my partner Sandro Piancone, we've been friends for a long time, and we've launched another public company together. The one I told you in Mexico, Wholesale Distribution. So he invited me to be the co-founder and chief marketing officer of this company. We started it during the pandemic. Of course, we didn't know that the pandemic was going to hit. In this industry, the old school is going to category buyers and selling, going to wholesale distributors face to face and selling, going to investment bankers and VCs, sitting across the table and selling. We started, let's say, on Monday, and on Wednesday, no flights, no meetings, no nothing. So we were in the verge of bankruptcy for all of COVID. So that was our introduction into the business.
I'm so sorry. I feel like I should give you an air hug. Like,
please.
Air hug. There we go.
And that's just chapter one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So do you want to share another obstacle? I mean, that's a pretty traumatic one.
Let's get into the contract law part of it. So
okay.
First the marketing, so that people have hope, right? My background is, of course, software and marketing. I like it. I'm addicted to marketing and influence. I call it influence because I started very small, studying influence. So I just did a small funnel on LinkedIn with the white paper and started engaging my target market. People started flying to see us during COVID. So their company said, no face-to-face meeting, nobody can come and see you. People would call, and then I was doing like 5 videos a day, like quirky, crazy videos. People would call, I need to meet the crazy guy that does the 5 videos a day. Like who does that, right? So then they would fly over, and we survived COVID thanks to one funnel with one white paper doing outreach on LinkedIn. So then we decided to raise capital by selling the company. Yeah, that was our idea. Sell to a publicly traded company, get stock, get $2 million in funding. We went to the altar 3 times.
I need like every book you've ever read on my shelf. But okay, so continue with your story.
I don't know if it was the right decision, Adi, but that's in our. You know how entrepreneurs are. Sometimes we get something stuck in our head. And we just plow, right? So I wouldn't do that now, but at the time, we were under a crunch. We needed money. We had employees, rent, right? We had the whole thing. We had these offers, like you said before. We had these offers. Hey, sign here. Tomorrow you're getting the money, right? And then we signed, and then no money. They were waiting for us to go under, to buy us in bankruptcy, but they tied our hands so that we couldn't do another deal. That was the first one. So then we said, okay, that one's gone. Move to the second one, same thing. The third one, we were very friendly. They're my friends to this day, but they just couldn't get the money in time. We extended it another month. They couldn't get the money. And I remember we were in the conference room, and I looked to my friend Sandro, and he was distraught. And I said, dude, of course we're from California, right? Dude, let's just do it ourselves. How hard can it be to go public?
Oh my God. Okay. We will be friends for life. Okay, yeah. So and then what happened?
Well, he's crazy. So he said, yeah, let's do it. That sounds like a fabulous idea. So
Okay.
we had no money, by the way, right? It can take, let's say, $1 million to $2 million to go public.
Yeah.
IPO, we had no money, like no money. We couldn't do payroll next week. And here we are playing investment banker, lawyer, accountant. Luckily, I've done 3 before, 3 reverse mergers before that one.
Okay.
All disastrous, by the way. So my track record wasn't the best. However, as an entrepreneur, it was my bachelor's, master's, and PhD in what not to do when you go public. Right? So that's the way I see it. And we decided to raise a little bit of capital with contacts in San Diego, doing some live events, also getting butts in seats. And we got $250,000 to buy a shell, a company that's already public, but they want to sell it because it doesn't have operations. It's usually worth $250,000.
Yeah.
Which that was all of our money. So then we went through some that didn't pan out, horror stories, right? And then finally we found the shell that we liked for $50,000. So we still had some money to clean the shell, clean the shareholders, and no investment banker. We did it ourselves. We did the contracts. We did the offering, investor relations. I did the investor relations myself, all of the marketing, everything. We did it with the 2 of us by ourselves, and we went public through a reverse merger. And
I need to know about your whole childhood. I need to know everything about your childhood that led you to have this like tenacious, resilient brain.
You know, sometimes you think you know.
Because like resilience is the #1 thing that just gets people going. But like, wow, like that's just like, you are the most resilient person I have met on the planet, and I've been 48 countries, so I feel like I've met some very resilient people. Wow. Okay, you also need to have an autobiography, but we will get into that in a second. So, okay, you went through hell again, went through hell a 3rd time, and then you sold the company 3 times with $2 million expected funding, and you have this 3rd shell or 5th shell. 5th?
This was my 1, 2, 3. This was my 4th time doing a reverse merger, and this was the 4th attempt for this company to go public. Yes.
Wow. And then you got it public this time.
Yes, we did it ourselves. Yes. We negotiated, we were the lawyers, the accountants, the investment bankers.
Yeah, well, I mean, after so many times being betrayed, it is hard to want to bring other people in.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes we look at different real estate opportunities and people are like, I want in. I'm like, I have known you less than 20 years, so no. Like, you can go in with me on a small deal where if it tanks, I will not want to kill you. But unless I've known you for years and years, it's not. Yeah, no, I get it. You have to bubble wrap yourself.
Yes.
So now after this 4th and final time, you have your IPO. It was successful. What happens? Did you like feel like this is amazing, or did you feel like, oh my God, that was so anticlimactic, I have to go back into the arena and do something else?
For my partner, it was amazing. And by the way, we did an IPO the same year of one of our subsidiaries to NASDAQ. But I'm fast forwarding. So we did 2 in 1 year, 1 IPO, 1 reverse merger, 2 separate companies under the same arena. My partner was super happy, even going to ring the bell at NASDAQ, right? If he was super happy. For me, it was anticlimactic. I suffer from that bug that, okay, you know, when I've written a lot of books, for example, and I write a book. This year I have 3 books coming out, and when I finish them, I go, that was fun, and then I start the next one.
Yeah.
Now that's good and bad. I think it's better because I find pleasure in my everyday activities without looking for the payout. I'm pumped about speaking with you. It makes my day. I'm happy, and I get the happy hormones. And then I'm going to write a little bit, right? I also write fiction, right? I write novels. So I'm going to write I write 1,000 words a day. And that's going to get me pumped, and I'm going to be super happy. And by the time I finish the book, I'm happy anyway. So it's finishing things is anticlimactic.
Okay, so you get dopamine from the progress, not from the completion.
Yes.
What's impressive here is usually if you get dopamine from the progress and not the completion, you don't finish the project, but you finish everything.
I finish. It's I'm not a perfectionist. That helps a lot. And I follow the software, the software saying that if you ship without bugs, you ship too late. So I follow that, and I say good is good enough. This book, the first book I wrote, Build Your Beverage Empire, I hated it so much that I said, I'm going to edit it next week, but I'm going to publish it now because I set a goal. I pushed the button. 10 years later, I edited it. And I lived from that book for probably 10 years. And I hated it. It was, in my opinion, so bad, but it changed the lives of over 1,000 entrepreneurs. And it's used in 200 universities that I know of, right? Because students call me. When they graduate, they call me. Hey, 10 years ago, I took a class and your book was there, and I'm starting my beverage. Thank you. And I go, which university? I never knew. So yes.
That's like an entire pep talk for every author ever.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, because like so I just finished writing this like 300-page book. In order to motivate myself to finish the book, I brought in 17 friends that I knew I wouldn't want to disappoint by not publishing. So I brought them in so they would give like positive pressure. But yeah, I hate the book, and then I go back and I read a chapter and I'm like, that's a great chapter that I would assign to any of my junior marketers. But I don't, it's like you said, like you get fulfillment from doing and from like these micro goals, accomplish those, not necessarily from the completion at the end. And you gave the motivation I need to just put the book out there, because I keep editing and re-editing.
No,
and, yeah.
No, don't edit, and then give it to somebody. Don't edit it anymore. The trick that I tell authors, I was coaching my mom the other day. For the sculpture I have here of the Tai Chi, she did that. So she paints, she teaches art. She retired from teaching philosophy and literature. However, I have more experience writing because I've written over 1 million words. And she's writing a novel, and I was coaching her, Mom, why aren't you advancing? And then let me see how you do it. She was editing as she was writing, which is the number one thing that I tell authors not to do. Don't edit, don't read what you wrote, block it if you can. Don't turn on the spell check or anything like that, right? Just go for it all the time, nonstop, and it works. So that's what I recommend. The first thing that I recommend is just go through it. Just don't stop. And then when you're done, you go back and you edit. When you're done.
Got it. Yeah. That's what I was doing. Is like each chapter I would write out the chapter, and then I would go in.
Don't edit the chapter. No.
Motivational?
I used to have a club they called the million. It's like a mastermind. At the end of the mastermind, every executive, this was for business people, would have their book. So we did it together. And that was well, number one, it was editing, and number two, they were never happy. It's not good enough. The cover is not perfect. And I would tell them every day that you don't publish, you're losing customers.
Money,
Yes,
opportunities.
it's a phenomenal funnel, right? So when I say that I lived from the book for 10 years, it wasn't from selling the book. It was from people calling me to hire me to help them make their beverage. Yes. Okay,
so then I have another question. What made you decide to become a software engineer?
I went into software because I was hired the first time, right? I was hired by a mentor. I was teaching in San Diego, couldn't get a job after college. Nobody would hire me. I started teaching Spanish and English, doing business in English. A German came, we became good friends. I would take him to eat tacos in Tijuana and drink tequila, and we became friends. He said, "You're wasting away, come with me, I'll train you to be a software consultant." Everything paid, apartment, car, the whole shebang. With my wife, right? We weren't married yet, but we went together. I advanced my career. He was the most incredible mentor to me. He catapulted me probably 20 years. Yeah. Then I went to another company, project.net, project management software. And then I left. Now, I always kept the pulse on software, and I've been a board of directors of different software companies. And then people that I worked with back then in the German company that are some of my best friends, one of them started his own software company, and it's an AI company that does visual effects for Boeing and visual training for Boeing. And then he said, you know what, we need to go all in on AI because we can't do manual 3D optimization. He does all of the marketing for the planes. So when you see planes in marketing, it's his. It's not a real plane. It's not a real airport.
Oh my God.
He does everything.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he goes to the trade shows. Get this. He goes to the trade shows, like the air show, with a life-size back of the plane, like where you load the pallets. And you look at it, and it has depth of field, right? Like you're looking at 100 feet of plane, and it's all a simulation without glasses. And he does all of that. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I told him, dude, no, we need to raise some capital. We need to do this properly. And we need to interface with the supply chain so that they know what's going to be in this plane, not only for training purposes, but to maximize the space in these carriers used by the military, by FedEx, by UPS, etc. So I've always kept my foot in software. After AI, of course, I started programming with AI because it's so easy. So I got re-energized in software when AI came.
That's I built my software company during COVID. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always wanted to learn to code, and I was like traveling 75% of the time. My daughter was 2. She was drawing family photos it was her and my husband, and the mommy was on the side because she was in an airplane. And he was like, well, now you can travel. Like that's how much. And then, so he's like, you always wanted to learn to code. If you can build a software company, then you won't travel as much. I was like, that's true. So during COVID, I learned to code, and the software was purchased by 300 people, the first edition. And I was like, I don't know if they want this. And then as they would ask me questions, I would ask developers questions. And I found 3 developers. I'd give them like a percentage of gross revenue if they debugged my code. Because that way I learned so much faster rather than studying books that were teaching me things I didn't need. Yes. So I built the next version of software that way, basically with like pie sharing with developers. And then next version had 1,000 people buy. And now 3,000 companies in 59 countries have used it. Yeah.
That is such an inspiration. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's my software story. I'm like a baby software wolf because I started in 2019. You started when?
You know, that's a case study for founders, for AI, the new way of AI founders, on how to go to market fast. That's amazing.
Yeah. I definitely think a lot more early stage founders should look at the pie sharing model, because they want the advisors, but they can't afford them. And it's like, we'll share the pie. And they're like, oh, I don't want to share the pie. And it's like, why? Because you read one book that said not to, read 15 more. They all shared the pie.
Yes. And it's karma.
Yeah, it's karma. It's in the middle of 80 grandkids, great grandkids. Yeah, and when you work with a big team, you have so many more people trying to make something successful. It just grows faster.
Yes.
I mean, you have your company's literally fast to market in the name.
Yes.
Yeah, and then okay, so you had this mastermind with books, you had all of these different things. What did you study in college?
I went to school in Tijuana up to high school, and then I came to the US, and I went to San Diego State. I actually studied art. I started because in my house
you went from art to software to like a multi-million-dollar maker. Oh my God.
Yeah, by the way, the highest market cap that we took, one of the companies, was $2 billion with the B.
Oh my God. And you studied art.
But it was so hard, and I couldn't maintain the market cap. It was so hard. I wasn't sleeping, just doing the marketing. But it will make sense. It makes sense because, listen, in my house in Tijuana, I grew up poor. No running water, no electricity. Poor. Not US poor, right? Another level of poor. However, I had 10,000 books in my house. And my mother and my grandmother worked 2 jobs. My grandmother was a door-to-door salesperson that sold business cards and printing things in Tijuana. So I had the example of working, reading, studying. And then my mom finished her college degree when I was 14, philosophy and literature at the seminary with old priests. And in my house, we only talked about art, philosophy, etc. That was it. It was all art. It was all literature, writing, speech and debate, right? All of these things. We even had little businesses like publishing, literature and things like that, my mom and I, when I was in high school. No business, no finance, no entrepreneurship. Just, I wanted to be a missionary because I was a missionary all through high school. So I said, I think I have a calling. I will be a missionary and a poet, right? Because I was writing since I was very young. When I realized how poor we were, I said, well, I'm just going to be a CEO, not knowing what that meant, right? I said, how hard can it be? Right? Like being a doctor, I thought is hard. Being a CEO, you don't have to go to school for that. You just work. So then that was my goal, to be a CEO. And in college, I started as a business major because I thought to be a CEO, you need to. So I did go through all of the finance, I did take all the courses, yes. But then my passion was art history, philosophy, photography. So I would take these tangents for a year to, I guess I want a minor in photography. I want a minor in literature. I want a minor in communication. And that's the way I went through college, studying everything. And then I said, yeah, the business kind of sucks. I'm not learning any business. I'm just learning how to be an employee for an entrepreneur. That's not what I wanted. So my counselor said, hey, you have enough credits to graduate. And if you do another semester, you have an MBA. And I said, I'll just graduate. And that's the way it happened. Now, most of the things that I've done in business have been thanks to my art, not to what I learned in business. And people don't realize this. The storytelling, let's say. I just said I took a market cap to $2 billion. That wasn't knowing business. That was knowing storytelling, because it was all telling a story just like we're doing it right now. It was all video storytelling. How do you learn storytelling? In literature, by writing, right? In art, by studying paintings and movies and novels. So people don't realize how important it is to exercise your creative side of the brain for business.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the whole thing with going from software into marketing, into all these other avenues, this makes so much more sense. It's like a full picture. Okay. Right. You learned like the tenacity and resilience from your grandmother.
Yes.
Wow.
And my mom. Wow. Yes.
And your mother. Yeah. Wow.
And there's other things that my first kidnapping attempt was when I was 4 years old. My first one. So living in Tijuana, walking to school since I was 7, it gets you in trouble. So that the tenacity comes, I think, from that as well. From running, escaping, defending yourself, etc.
Yeah. The first time someone tried to kidnap me, I was 8. Yeah, and then the first time I hitchhiked home in a snowstorm, I was 9. Yep, and then
that's scary.
Yeah. But I think having to learn certain survival skills at a young age, it changes you.
Yes.
But what I think is interesting about you is most of us are cold by the time we become adults from that, and you're not. You're like still very warm and friendly and smiling.
Yes.
Whereas like my eyes are daggers.
I think that comes from my mother, because she's very innocent. People take advantage of her because she's very innocent, but I get that from my mother. Now, I taught martial arts for a long time, and I practiced martial arts for a long time. Kung Fu, Tai Chi, boxing, wrestling, things like that. That gives you a calmness and an openness. And then when you do that, you kind of have to practice Buddhism, because all of these practices come from Buddhism.
Yeah.
And even if you don't want to, it's built into martial arts. So then you start seeing the world differently. You start seeing people differently. Your existence and the relationships and the interactions that you have with people, like with you right now, you start seeing them differently, like a gift. And when you're just receiving gifts, you can't help but be warm, because everything is a gift. Knowing that you can turn it on and be go kung fu on somebody's ass if you need.
Okay.
because you go fight at night, right? I'm fighting every night at the school. And I'm fighting 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 22, 30-year-olds that can kick my butt. And one student told me, "Why are you smiling when you fight? That's creepy. It gives me the heebie-jeebies." And I said, "Because I'm happy. I like practicing. I'm happy, so I can't help but smile." And then I remember one of my teachers telling me, "There's no smiling in Kung Fu." And I said, "Of course there's smiling in Kung Fu. What are you talking about?" So yes, I think the calmness and the warmness comes from family, but then from that practice.
There's a joke that Russian Jews never learn how to smile. And one of my favorite people constantly has to post pictures to social media of like himself like giving speeches and things, and I will totally roast him, and I'm like, "Did you almost smile in that photo?" And he's like, deadpan at the camera.
Absolutely not.
What?
What did he say? Absolutely not. No
He didn't
smiling.
respond. He
Yeah.
looked at me
Oh,
and raised an eyebrow.
yes.
Uh,
And you know, if we dissected Addy, if we go deep into smiling, and by the way, I like it so much. I wrote a book that's coming out called Marketing Karma, and it talks about what what you're saying, and smiling is a chapter. And I talk about how when you smile, let's say that you're in a meeting and you greet everybody smiling, immediately they can't help but smile back. Now, you do it because it's good and you want to be happy, but the other thing that happens is other people are happy and they start figuring out that when they are around you, they're happy and they want to be around you. And then now you're spreading the love or the karma or the influence or whatever you want to call it. And the message is more receptive now. And if you're into influence or marketing, that's very important. When I used to do keynote speeches, I would go dancing, right? I salsa or something like that. So then by the time I'm in the stage, everybody is bending down laughing. And I haven't even said a word.
you salsa on stage?
I salsa all the way walking to the stage, and then I go, I tell the sound system person, to put salsa or some Perez Prado, some mambo or something like that. And then I go salsa, mambo, whatever. But then I say like, no, cut the music. I'm not here nobody came here to see me dance. And of course, everybody's dance, screaming at me. And then, okay, one more. And I go for 3 beats. And then I go, okay. And then I start with my speech. Everybody's already laughing, open-minded. This guy's ridiculous. Let's see phones are down, right? Nobody has their phone out. Or if they do, they're recording me. Like, look at this crazy guy is dancing on stage. Who does that, right?
Okay. Do you have recordings of this? Because I feel like we need to embed one in the show.
I recorded when you do a keynote, the event organizer records it. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh wow.
I paid part of my college teaching salsa and ballroom dance. So
I paid part of my college on ballet scholarships.
Really?
Yeah. I was classical ballet scholarships.
That's what I wanted as a kid. I wanted to learn ballet when I was a child. Yes. This is why I did ballroom dance. I did ballroom dance because I couldn't do ballet. There was no place in Tijuana, and then I did take a couple of classes in college. I was the only guy, but then I just loved ballroom because you could dance everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. All of my guy friends who were complaining about the dating life, they would come with me to like one of my dance classes, and they were like, "I'm a dance minor now." And they would
Here you go.
be like 2 guys and 30 girls who were all in like perfect condition.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So we will include in the show notes a video where he was dancing at the start of his keynote, and maybe the rest of us will be inspired to start our keynotes that way. Challenge accepted. I am speaking for in 2 weeks. I don't think I'll do it then, but yeah, I think my father would kill me if I did it then because I'm speaking at all the places that he arranged for. But maybe another time we could start that way.
Yes, record it, please. I want to see it.
So now, obviously, everyone that's is in love with you and wants to be your best friend. What is the best way for them to get in touch with you? And like, what are you doing now so they can get in touch with you? Like, you still do keynote speaking?
I just started. Yes, I haven't done it I stopped doing it for 7 years, and then I just started again. For some reason, a lot of Zooms. People want me to do training on Zoom, but I love speaking in public. So yes, I started doing speaking To contact me, I think Jorge Olson, Jorge, is how you spell Jorge, and then Olson with an O, double O, son of Ol, right?
Yeah.
That's my half Mexican, right? And then my father's from Minneapolis via Sweden. And if you go to jorgeolson.com, that's the best way. And all of my social media has that name because there's not many Jorge Olsons in the world. Yeah. So if you Google me, you're gonna see my LinkedIn, you're gonna see my Facebook, my Instagram, and then jorgeolson.com. I have a way there where people can contact me as well.
Okay, and then you're doing keynote speaking. You help people launch their consumer goods lines.
Yes.
That is just if they want, like if they have an idea, or do you have like a product idea backlog where if I want a consumer goods line, what do you have for me? Do you have like ideas for them to pull from? So they don't have to bring you ingredients and say, I want this made. You have the ingredients, you can launch the line for them. Okay, very cool.
That's a very good question. And the answer is both. Yes, somebody comes and says, I have an idea and I want this crazy ingredient and this crazy mixture. Yes, we have a laboratory where you can go and they will do everything from scratch. If you say, you must have the best formula for skincare already, let me just use the formula because you already tested it, you already did all the research, you already put the right acids, you already paid all of the labs. So just put the best one in the world in mind. And then you save, I don't know, $30,000 probably. Yes, we can do that as well. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing you have multiple books that have come out. They're all on your website?
They're on my website, but Amazon is a good place. Bookstores, libraries also. The audio, I have 3 books coming this year, and all audiobooks coming out this year as well. So Audible,
what are these books?
What's that?
I said, no one can keep up with you. What are these books that you have coming this year? It took me 2 years to write a book. You're writing 3 in a year.
It's Marketing Karma, right? I mentioned Marketing Karma is coming out. And then I have Wholesale MBA.
Oh my God.
For those of you that want to learn how to actually launch your product, any product and sell it, I have Wholesale MBA coming out. I already wrote them. They're already out in Spanish, by the way. If somebody speaks Spanish, they're on Amazon. Super Sexy Kung Fu Marketing is out also.
Oh my gosh. I want to be at a speaking event where you get on stage and say that. I just want to feel the audience's reaction.
Oh, I did it. And I told them it's Susi Kufum. I told them first, and they go, Susi Kufum? What the hell is that? Oh, it stands for Super Sexy Kung Fu Marketing. Everybody was on the floor. Like, what? This guy's ridiculous. But then, I explained why. And so then it came from a keynote, and I decided to turn it into a book. And then it's in Spanish, it's out already, bookstores, Amazon, etc. In English, it's coming out this year, probably in March. Yeah.
And do you self-publish, or you have a publisher that you like working with?
I self-publish. I decided that with my first book when you do fast-moving consumer, let's say that you do a beverage and you get somebody to sell it for you, they charge you 5%. The publisher wanted 95% of my book. And in my head, being an entrepreneur, I said, wait a minute, you're not getting 95% of my IP. So then I said, how hard can it be? Let's go back to it. This should be easy. So I said, how hard can it be? So then, now I work with the same editors they do, by the way. I hire editors that work for Penguin, that work for the biggest houses. Okay. So, right? And I can pay an editor. I don't need a publisher. I can pay my own way.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering how you were so fast, because I was like, you have to have an editorial. But okay, that makes sense. And then You have to write a self-help book. Like, we all need it. How to be happy, how to look at everything and say, this should be easy, and figure it out
Yeah.
along the way. Like, that mindset needs to just be poured into a book.
Yes,
Please.
I think that's very important. And you told me that I should write a memoir, and I already have 50,000 words of my memoir.
Okay.
I think I'm up to when I'm 46. It's where I'm up to in my book. I stopped in the summer. I stopped writing, and I need to go back and finish it. I think also in the book Marketing Karma, I go over the fact that the happiness factor. I think it's easy, and it's practice. It's definitely practice. It's not something that I was born with. It wasn't a gift. It was practice and practice and practice.
Okay.
Making decisions. And I remember, by the way, each big decision that I made, where I was, and who snapped me out of my funk, right? Like, I remember one time I was depressed because my car broke down and I couldn't pick up my friend, and the world is coming to an end, and my uncle, who's like a self-help guru, sat me down and said, "You're 20, you're not going to survive." And I went, "What?" He said, and he's always happy. And I said,
Yeah.
"What?" Yeah. My stomach hurt because I was, I was so angry that my car wouldn't start. My stomach hurt. I wanted to throw up, right? So I was in that extreme, and I needed to come to where I am now. And that was one of the lessons. And I said, I'm going to change. I'm going to study.
Yeah.
I'm going to read, and I'm going to apply. I'm going to learn to apply information as my superpower.
Okay. Got it. Okay, well, put me on the pre-order list for your memoir and your self-help book. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for answering all of my questions. You are by far one of the most interesting people on the planet. I wish I had a brain. Like, this is just, wow. Like, you, the way your brain works is amazing. I cannot wait to read your memoir, and maybe your book on how to IPO. Wow. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure being here. It made me very happy. Thank you very much. And thank you for doing this. That's amazing.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. See you all on our next episode. Bye.